Hello and welcome everybody to another election prediction video. Today I'm going to be doing a 2020 presidential alt history election between Trump and Hillary Clinton, a rematch to see what it would have looked like if Clinton ran again in the 2020 election instead of Biden. I'm also going to assume that the pandemic COVID stuff didn't happen as well, so overall this realistically would have been more about Trump's potential numbers, assuming we didn't have COVID, which was the biggest reason he lost in 2020 in the first place. Now, before I start, I just want to ask that you consider subscribing and leaving a like if you are new and you want to see more content like this. I'm almost at 250 subscribers, so I'm hoping we can get there soon. Anyways, I'm going to start with the prediction. We're going to go as usual, as most people would, and we're going to do the safe states. I'm going to fill out each safe state except for Nebraska's 2nd district. Now, these should be fairly similar to 2016 safe states. I might shift a couple. As you can see, Ohio, which is a state that in 2020 actually trended even further to the right. Same with Iowa. Both of them were about a 9 to 10 point margin. For Trump, I think they'd be 10 in this scenario as well, especially against Clinton. She'd be even less popular in this cycle. Realistically, I think she would probably do worse. So, as a result, I think Ohio and Iowa would for sure be at least a 10-point margin for Trump. Trump himself being a better president than Clinton would have been, and assuming the COVID stuff didn't happen, he would have won the 2020 election as is already. So, these will be the safe states in this case, at least for Republicans, and I do think Hillary would win California, Oregon, Washington, Illinois, Hawaii. Mostly expected safe states as usual. These should come as no surprise to anybody. And based on the margins in Minnesota, I would not put it anywhere near safe. But I think I would put Colorado safe in this scenario. If we look at the 2016, you can kind of see why. It was close, but then in 2020, it got even further apart. So overall, I do think the state has shifted far enough. Actually, no. I'll come back to Colorado. But as we can see here, the safe states for each candidate in the Electoral College at this moment between Trump and Clinton is 150 to 183. So we'll move on from here to likely states. One of those being Texas. Texas in 2016 and even 2020, both pretty close to safe states at this point, and likely will continue to be in that column for now. I think it is possible it even could go safe against Clinton this cycle, assuming COVID didn't happen. We also have North Carolina, which I think would be a likely in this scenario. Yeah. So based on the 2016 results, again, assuming COVID didn't happen, Trump would have done about the same. He still won state by around 1.5 or 2% in the 2020 election against Biden. I do think he wins it. And Georgia, realistically, I think would actually go in a likely margin as well in this scenario. Clinton is just not a popular candidate. People do not like her. She's not going to win anything, and she'd do worse than her 2016 margins. No matter how Trump really did, she was going to do worse in this scenario, especially in places more swing state areas. She's not a popular candidate at all. Nobody likes her. Like, Biden is bad in some regards, but Clinton is just worse. There's just so much about her that people don't like, and she has so many scandals and histories, but then again, so does Joe Biden. Anyways, moving on, I do think in this case, Arizona probably wouldn't be likely. It'd be close, but I think these are the likely for the Republicans in this case. I do think going forward, Virginia and Colorado, I think would be the two likely for Clinton in this scenario. It went 10 for Biden. It was only 4 for Clinton, but overall the state is trending to the left when it comes to Virginia. Same with Colorado. New Mexico, that one was actually more in 2016, but in 2020 it was much closer for Trump than Colorado was. In this scenario, I guess I'd probably put New Mexico in a. I'm going to put it in a lean margin. I think it would get closer. Again, overall, Clinton's not going to do that much better. In some places, in a lot of cases, she'll do worse, even if they're trending to the left. In this scenario, I do think Colorado and Virginia would get better margins for her than last time, but overall, I don't think New Mexico would. Another state that I think would go Republican this as lean, I think Arizona would go. Florida would be likely actually at this point. Florida trended further to the right for Trump. And again, assuming COVID doesn't happen and DeSantis overall is the governor, yeah, that might have an impact on how DeSantis' role plays out and how popular he becomes. But the state itself was still trending to the right and would have continued probably enough for it to be likely, I'd say, about a 5 point margin for Trump in this scenario. I also want to put Nebraska second as lean in this case. And Maine at large, we look at Maine at large itself, Clinton won it by 2 points. I don't. I think she'd win it still, but only in a tilt margin in this case. And New Hampshire was another interesting one. That one was 0.4 apart. I do think they have an incumbency bias, but I think overall, because Clinton just wouldn't be that much more popular, I think it would go tilt or Trump. Now, another one, Trump also won the Rust Belt right here. He won the entire Rust Belt, and I don't see that not happening again with him against Clinton. Realistically, I'd say in a lean margin for Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. Wisconsin was about a point ahead for Trump in that case, and about the same for Pennsylvania. Now, Michigan was closer, I believe, it was about a 3 point margin. So I'd put Michigan as a tilt for Trump, but I do think he'd do a little better there than the 2016 margins. And now Nevada, which is actually trending to the right. I've done a couple videos on that. I do think Trump would actually get Nevada. I think he could possibly do it in a lean margin. I think he'd get it by about 1%. And actually, no, I'm going to put Michigan in a lean as well. I think he'd get about 1 to 2% at most over Clinton. She, again, not a popular candidate, and she's very establishment Democrat, so her policy is that of the more globalistic ideology, which is not popular with any Rust Belt state or the average working class voter. Because Trump's appeal is the working class. That's what helps him win. That's why he won the Rust Belt in the first place in 2016. And now the last one in this scenario is Minnesota. That was actually a lot closer in 2016 than some people think it was. Now, it's been voting Democrat for 20, 30, 40 years at this point. But I do think Trump could potentially, in this case, again, COVID's not a scenario here, so you have to consider Trump overall would poll better. And I do think he'd actually win it by a tilt margin. It would be close, but I think he'd win it by a tilt margin, probably around 0.5%, I'd say. He'd be able to get it close enough to win it. It's not guaranteed he'd win it, but I think he'd get it close enough. And overall, I just don't see Clinton being capable of winning anything against Trump. Like, she's not a popular candidate. Nobody likes her. And Trump himself has many accomplishments to tout in an election, especially against Hillary Clinton. Assuming, again, so COVID's not a situation here, not an issue. It would not have hurt Trump's poll numbers the same way. And overall, Trump would have probably pulled ahead by a decent margin. And I even think in this case, he would beat Clinton popular vote-wise, assuming he gets the same votes as the 2020 election actually had. That'd be 74 million votes right there, and that's more than enough to surpass her 62 million. Now, obviously, she'd probably get a bit more than that. The turnout would potentially be higher, but people are not going to turn out to vote for her. I think she'd probably get somewhere around 70 million, but I don't think she'd surpass Trump in this case. I think Trump would get about 70-something million, so would she, but Trump would surpass her by, I'd say, almost a million votes. And overall, he would win the election, the Electoral College. And I do think Republicans would also hold on to both the House and the Senate in this case, as well as a lot of the governorships in 2020, a lot different from how it actually happened in 2020. Now, that would change what the upcoming midterms are going to look like. And I'm actually going to do a video like that based on Trump winning against Biden in 2020, what the midterms would look like. Anyways, that's my prediction for the 2020 alt history rematch, Trump versus Clinton. If you agree with my prediction or you like what you see, please consider leaving a like and commenting on the video. Let me know what you think about the prediction, or if you think Clinton would have won the election, or what you might even put differently in this prediction. Anyways, that's all for now. Hope you guys have a good night.